Hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors Oxygenaddict.com Triathlon Coaching, FueledByCake.com Charity Cake Book, and our new sponsor SalfordTriathlon.com, the Olympic distance triathlon in the heart of Manchester. Right then, so welcome to the show. I'm joined as always by my wonderful co-host Helen Murray. Helen, how you doing, mate?
Good morning, Rob. I'm good this week, thank you very much. Yeah, I had a fun weekend and spent some of it on a bike.
Go on, tell us all about your weekend. Tell listeners, because I happen to know you've done something completely crazy and mental, as always. And I know our listeners love catching up on how the crazy half of the world live, don't they?
Well, okay, so this weekend was the longest day of the year, and we did this bike ride, we being me and Rich and about 250 others. It was called Ride to the Sun.
250 of you did this.
Yeah. So,
I love it.
And the aim of it was leave Carlisle, ride 100 miles to Edinburgh, just north of Edinburgh, a little place called Cramond, for sunrise. So the beauty of this thing was there were no timing chips, it wasn't an official race, it was almost just a bunch of kind of crazy people gathering, and you rode 100 miles through the night, stopping off at Moffat. They had asked the Moffat Kebab House and Chip Shop to stay open late, so they probably had the best business they've ever had.
That's awesome.
Yep, so that was around mile 40. Mile 60, the guys who had organised it said we'll be in a pub car park with water and bananas. And then they organised for a charity to make bacon butties at 5 a.m. in Cramond. And we just about made it with about 5 minutes to spare. It was weird. It was amazing. It was hard. It was surreal. It was beautiful, even though you couldn't really see anything. I loved it. Really, really enjoyed it.
What time did the sun come up then? Was it starting to get light about 4 or something like that?
Yeah, so we just made it to Cramond at about 18 minutes past 4, and I think you could see the beginning of the sun rising. So I think we made it with about 10 minutes to spare. But even, it went pitch black, I'd say, between midnight and 2 a.m. And then as you were getting closer to Edinburgh, you could sort of see this hazy red light, and you're thinking, now is that the sun or is that just the colour from all the lights?
Yeah.
But there was one long stretch, probably between about 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. and you could tell there was forest on either side of you, but you couldn't see it. You could just smell this incredible fresh pine. It was utterly bizarre, utterly bonkers, and the first hour or so were dry, and then we had 2.5 hours of driving rain, and you're thinking, oh heck, this could be a long night. But yeah, it was good. It was really good.
It sounds awesome. It sounds like a really amazing experience, and I think more and more people are going to start looking for these amazing experiences once they've raced. You know, they've done the triathlon, they've gone half Ironman, they've gone Ironman, they've done the crazy Ironman maybe, and then they're going to start looking for these extra experiences. It must be, I've got to say, I don't think there's many people who've ridden all through the night.
No.
And it sounds like pretty amazing. How did you do for bike lights and stuff like that? Did you last and have loads of extra batteries with you, or?
So I had a rubbish one, which I put on to begin with. And it's rubbish because it just doesn't last. So that went within 2 hours, and I thought, oh no, I know my really strong one is good, but how long will it last? But actually, my really strong one then survived the rest of it, so that was fine. We had little flashes on our helmets, little flashes on our saddlebags. So we were okay for lights, but clearly there was no way of charging them en route, so you had to start off with very, very good charged lights. And
I'm guessing there's no street lights and stuff on the way. You're in the wilds, right?
Absolutely pitch black. I mean, we were passed by about 2 trucks. A Royal Mail van came past us going up this 7-mile stretch of hill, and that was we saw that van, and then we saw a lorry on a main road when we were turning out of a junction, and it came past us. But honestly, other than that, there was literally...
Just surreal.
Yeah, really, really surreal.
What an amazing experience. I'm super jealous.
Yeah, you could see this 7-mile stretch. It's called I've forgotten what it's called, but it's got a crazy name. And it's just when you leave Moffat, and you could see these red lights in the distance. And I said to Rich at one point, I was like, this is like those pilgrimages that people do, and you can just see, there's no traffic around. It's just flashing red lights, and you're thinking, oh no, I can see they're above us. This hill's going to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. And, you had to be self-sufficient. There was no aid stations. You didn't pay to do this thing. It was
total freebie, was it?
Total freebie.
Oh, love it.
Because there were no costs involved. And the people who made the bacon butties at the finish, for example, yes, you paid them, but that went to charity.
Yeah.
And I think someone had helped out with bananas and water. The guys that organised it, Fraser and Gary, were lovely. So they had printed the route on their website, Ride to the Sun, and just turn up and ride. It's great, and you could leave Carlisle whenever you wanted to. Someone left at 11:15, and then had to ride a little bit faster, but they got there.
That's brilliant. Right, well, we'll publicise this again next year coming up, because I can't think of a better preparation ride to keep your family happy if you're doing an Ironman next summer, to say, I'll spend the whole day with the kids, and then I'll sneak out at 6 o'clock. You put them to bed. I'm going to ride all the way through the night. How did you get home? Did you hop on the train, or did you ride back?
No, we hopped on the train, but sadly the first train back to Crewe from Edinburgh on a Sunday left at 10 to 11. So,
oh wow!
So it was one of those. I don't know if you've ever worked a night shift, but it was. if you then suddenly
trying to keep your eyes open,
without being able to go to bed, it was quite nasty. So we actually spent as long waiting for our train as we had on our bikes.
Oh, hard not, mate. Ride back next year. That's obviously the thing. We'll do it next year. Amen. Helen, we're going to organise something like that for next year when I'm finally rid of this stupid job and I'm out in the real world as a freelance will be. We're going to organise something like that. I'm going to call it right now, Helen. There's going to be a Cup of Try ride next year.
Ooh.
A midnight ride somewhere.
Yeah, it was, honestly, it was
first.
really, really good. So check it out. Ride to the Sun from Carlisle to Edinburgh, overnight, 100 miles. Great fun.
Awesome stuff. Right, let's crack on with the show then, shall we? Let's jump straight in with our results. And excitingly, we've got a new sponsor this week. Our results section is sponsored by Salford Triathlon. So, salfordtriathlon.com. Salford Triathlon's taking place on the 26th of July this year. Great venue, isn't it, Hels?
Oh, absolutely. In terms of support, it's brilliant. So it's held in Media City. You've got the transition in front of all those big buildings like BBC Sport, and there's a big piazza there. So every time you have to come through transition, there's loads of people cheering you on, and it's quite compact. So it means that everybody can, you will be seen a lot of times, and you will get a lot of cheers. And the Keys is actually a really cool place to swim because it is clean and it isn't too intimidating.
And your family can see you all the way around, which is quite unusual, isn't it? Because the water level is kind of 5 or 6 metres below the level of the sort of the walk around bit. It's quite unique in that people can walk around and actually walk alongside you as you swim and down to the bridge and back again. And like you said, I think there's a multiple loop bike course, so it's not one of those fast and flat bike courses, but there's lots of twists and turns, and it's interesting there in and around the roads around Media City, so your supporters will get to see you loads of times. And again, the run similarly is multiple laps in and around the dock area there and around the BBC building. So I hadn't been down for a few years, and I was really amazed by how much it had changed since I did the original Salford Triathlon back in, I think, 2002,
yeah,
maybe 2001 even, and it was pretty much empty there at the time. So to go back and be like, oh wow, look at this, the BBC's really here now.
Yeah, it is very
13
modern.
years later, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, and the run's quite good actually, because it is it's got quite a few turns on it, so you can see where your other competitors are, put it that way.
See where your competition are. Right, so if you're interested in entering, entry's still available, salfordtriathlon.com. Right then, results from this week. Shall we start with international races?
Yes.
The Mont Tremblant, is that how we say it?
Yeah, if you want to go very, very French, Mont Tremblant, but let's go Mont Tremblant. It's fine. It's in Canada, over on the eastern side.
Mount Tremblant.
in the French-speaking part of Canada. And, it's beautiful around there. Absolutely stunning. You can ski there in the winter, and then in the summer it is loads of mountains and very, very green and pine forest. Excellent place. And we had some British success on the female side on the podium, Rob.
Yeah, Holly Lawrence taking out second place in 4:15. And she did really well. Another 70.3. Was it California?
Yeah.
She's on the podium at California
Oceanside,
as well.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Oceanside. So that's two podiums for her, stepping up to half-distance racing, which is really good to see. Women's race was taken out by Meredith Kessler. It sounds like Holly came off the bike about a minute behind Meredith, and then Meredith put a few more minutes into her. So Meredith Kessler in 4:10, Holly Lawrence 4:15, and Alicia Kay of the USA in third in 4:18. So nice one, Holly. Seriously solid result.
And
on the men's side,
it was Lionel Sanders again who got the win. He hasn't got the strongest of swims, but man, he can bike and run, can't he?
He certainly can. He folded a bit, didn't he, at Ironman Texas? He rode with Joe Skipper at Texas, and then got a bit of heat stroke on the run, it looks like. But yeah, super duper biker. He took it out in 3:45. Taylor Reid in 3:46, and Jesse Thomas in 3:48. Now, it's a hilly course as well. It's mountainous, isn't it? So it's interesting the guys there are doing 3:45 when Gomez did 4:02 last week at the UK. So for all our UK listeners who are thinking, I wish my time had been a little bit faster at UK, there's obviously 15-minute discrepancy there for the pros, so it's going to be even more for you. So if you're measuring yourself up against the time done on other courses, don't be too hard on yourself. It looks like it might not possibly has been as flat as the organisers once promoted it, and certainly not quite as fast as they said it was going to be. Right, so there we go. There's the results from Mont Tremblant.
And Rob, did you know at Mont Tremblant you got you probably didn't know this because you haven't done it, free punnet of strawberries pre-race.
Really?
Yeah. Holly Lawrence tweeted that she said, stoked to finish second today, great course and fantastic crowd. And then she said, got a free punnet of strawberries pre-race. Can't be all bad, can it?
Yeah, a bit of whole food there for the athletes. I'm not sure I'd fancy a gutful of real strawberries the day before a 70.3 myself, but there you go.
Afterwards. Hopefully they'll keep for a day and then you can enjoy them after the race.
Right, now moving on to domestic racing. We had a couple of big domestic races in this country this weekend. We've had the Dambuster Olympic distance, which was a qualifier for, help me out, Helen, was it for the Europeans next year?
So the Dambuster was a qualifier for Chicago.
For the Worlds for next year.
For this year.
For this year?
Yep.
Oh,
an age group qualifier for the World Triathlon Championships 2015.
Now, looking at the results here, we've had some super fast guys racing. It's never been thought of as a particularly fast course, the Dambuster one, but some boys have made it look fast indeed here. Luke Pollard took the win for the RAF Triathlon. He's done 1:55 overall, 19:21 on the swim, 1:01 on the bike, and a 33-minute flat run, which is just
rapid.
And I thought, and I might be wrong, but I thought the Dambuster bike course was one lap of the Vitruvian bike course. Vitruvian's 84k, so I think that bike course is possibly 42k bike course. If that's true, 1:01 on the bike, that's averaging over 41 kilometres an hour on the bike. That's just astonishing fast riding. Good
incredible.
work, Luke.
Even if it's not true, Rob. 1:01.
Still fast, isn't it?
It's still rapid.
Still fast. Matthew Nelson from TFN Tricamp race team in second, and Dan Jenkin from redvenom.co.uk in third. So good racing there from the boys. In the ladies' race,
we had Sam Warner, who was on the podium last weekend at Staffordshire. She took the win in 2:07.45. So really, do we sort of can we allow her to slip in there when it's a qualifier race? So there'll be a lot of GB age group athletes. So second place was Lucy Nell from the 25 to 29 age group. She did 2:11.42. and she was a couple of minutes clear of Samantha Rose, who was third again from the 25 to 29, who did 2:14.22. And then Rob, shout out for Susie Richards, who was fourth. Now, Susie, again, is 25 to 29. She's in the Leeds Bradford try. She won Outlaw Half recently. She's the one who won Slate Man recently.
Oh, yeah.
She won the Always Aim High Triathlon Series last year. She's going to be racing Ironman UK. So she's a really good all-round athlete. So she did a...
Fair play, yeah.
Yep, really good. And then, one other shout-out. Louise Minchin. Have you heard of Louise Minchin? You might have seen her. She's the woman who presents BBC Breakfast in the mornings on our screens. And
cool.
Yeah, she's in the 45 to 49 age group. She came 95th female, but she was 7th in her age group, and I think she might have qualified for Chicago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so well done, Louise Minchin. So she did it in 2:48.55.
Good work. Not too shabby at all.
Really not.
Good work. Very impressive. Now the next domestic results, we had Southport, didn't we? The Southport Sprint, which was a qualifier for the Euros.
Yep, for next year.
The Euro Sprints.
Yep.
I've had a few tweets through from the old club mates saying ridiculously windy course, really, really hard day's racing, so it sounds like they battled the weather there a little bit. Men's race was taken out by Sean Wiley. Under 20, so a real youngster there, good lad. He's put together a 1:02.12 overall. Sam Woods, 1:02.38 in second. Harry Palmer, 1:03.09 in third. Have you got the girls' results up in front of you?
Again, it was another under 20 who won the female race. It was Rebecca Story, she did it in 1:11.25. Donna McHugh second in 1:12.51, and then Christine Bertram, who I've heard of quite a bit. I think she's a very, very good age grouper. She's in the 40 to 44 category. She did a 1:13.56 to finish in third.
Fair play. Only a couple of minutes off the win there for a lady in her 40s. That's good going.
Yeah, really, really good. Fantastic.
Great stuff. And do you know what? The one really big race that really tickled my fancy this week that I wanted to talk about, we haven't been able to find the results for. It was the super insane Wasdale X Ironman distance race up in the Lake District this weekend, which was meant to be a full distance swim in Westwater.
Yep.
Starting at 4 a.m. was the plan, the deepest lake in the Lake District, or the deepest water in the Lake District. Water was so cold it hadn't warmed up this year, probably as a function of it being so deep, that they cut the swim down, didn't they? And got an extra half an hour in bed. They cut it to a 1.9k swim. But the bike course goes off around what's the majority of the Fred Whitten bike course, which is considered to be probably the hardest one-day sportive in the country. And then the marathon was 2 runs up and down.
It does.
Did it include Scarfell Pike?
Yeah.
Scarfell?
No, it goes on to Wasdale Screes Corridor Route, Scarfell Pike, and it has an elevation gain of 1,835 metres. It's just bonkers. The bike course, right? Even the noses, the names even of these passes that they have to cycle up. Okay, so they go up Hard Knot, Rhinos, Struggle, Honister, Newlands, and Winlatter, and the elevation gain on the bike is 3,300 metres. It's just incredible. So they say that this is the
10,000 feet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the hardest full iron distance in the world. It's just insane. I can't even imagine getting on the start line.
Yeah.
It would scare me.
For people who are listening who've not been to the lakes and tried to ride some of those passes, a couple of them are virtually unrideable. They are like 1 in 2.5, 1 in 3 kind of climbs. And on the Fred Whitten, it's just littered with people falling over like dominoes and knocking the person off next to them sideways. And the idea of completing the Fred Whitten is one of the most challenging one-day bike rides. And an old pal of mine who used to race Ironman used to say he did it as a preparation ride because it was harder than any Ironman. Just the 112-mile bike route was harder than any Ironman. And if he could do that, he knew he could get around his Ironman race. The idea of then going on to run any kind of marathon, let alone all off-road, in the dark, going up the corridor route and up, it's just It's just bonkers. So we haven't been able to get any of the results through yet, and we're gonna talk about this more next week when we get the results through, because I just think it's fantastic for the UK that someone's had the vision to put this race on. People are brave enough to go and take it on, and I know loads of our club mates have been up there on several recce's, and have done like 55 miles of the bike course and gone, do you know what, it took us 6 hours to ride the first 55 miles of the bike course, and it's just such a massive, ballsy move even to enter it. So as soon as we find the results, we'll let you know. We have had a text through, haven't we, from old Decker Dave.
So Decker Dave, if you listen back.
Decker Dave Clamp.
Listen back to some of our previous episodes. Scroll down and you'll find an interview with Decker Dave, and this is the man who, he's in his 50s and he is just so inspiring. He did Kona last year, and then straight after Kona he went over to Mexico and he did a Decker Ironman, which is 10 Ironman in 10 days. And then, he's just did the Wasdale X, but actually he didn't quite manage to finish, sadly. He said, I crashed on Hard Knot in the rain. He got a buckled wheel and he had cuts on his legs and his arms, black eye, cuts on his head, cracked his helmet. He was in last place with the broom wagon. When I got going, he says, like, I think most people would have just called it a day at that point, but no, not Decker Dave.
Yeah.
So, Rob, he then says that he managed to complete the bike, didn't he?
Good grief. Complete the bike on 9 hours 20. Managed 17 miles of the run, but my quad was too sore and swollen from the crash, so I didn't do the final ascent. I think at that point there were 4 ladies in front of me. It's harder on a different way from the Decker, freezing swim, and the toughest bike and run courses imaginable. So, it's just, if a guy like Dave Clamp is telling you it's the toughest bike and run courses imaginable, you need to seriously sit up and take notice. And if you're inspired by the idea of it, firstly, good on you, get in there and get training, but know what you are chewing off there. That is a big bite of the dinosaur you're taking on, and you've got to prepare yourself for it properly. So I am going to commit right now, Helen. Yeah. We're going to get some of these guys on the show, and I think we'll have a Wasdale X special. We'll get a few of them on to talk about it, because, again, Ironman itself is an inspiring event to do. Yeah. Half Ironman's an inspiring event to do. To go off and do some of the really super crazy things like this, I think takes it to another level.
Oh, absolutely, another level.
And a special edition.
So I've heard from the woman that came fifth. She said that the swim was very, very cold. This is Claire Bush, and she said she enjoyed most of the bike despite hailstones, rain and wind, and she said she enjoyed parts of the run, but it was really, really tough terrain. Now, she finished it in around 17 hours or so. She is hardcore, and she did City to Summit a couple of years ago. She has a little kid, and you kind of think, oh my goodness, how on earth do you do all this? This is impressive. And then another person who I've heard from, look him up on Twitter. He's at Dobbo64, DOBO64, and look him up because he posted a picture of himself almost the morning after. He looks broken, Rob. He said he finished at around 10 p.m. He said he's feeling very sorry for himself. He said if it hadn't been for his friends and family, he would have definitely had a DNF. And he said that he was the last person to make the cutoff at the summit of Scafell. So, wow. Oh my goodness. Well done, Paul Dobson and Claire Bushen and Decker Dave and everybody else who even signed up. It takes guts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Right, so moving forward then, our news section, coming up races. News section sponsored by fueledbycake.com, our charity cake book. Helen, how many copies do you have left to try and sell still at this point?
Seriously, about 5.
Right, come on, let's get them sold, listeners. Get over to fueledbycake.com, purchase yourself a copy of this book. One cake made from that book will be worth it. The most delicious cakes known to man have come from there. Helen used to bring a basket of different cakes every week to our Wednesday night club swim, and they contributed to my round belly more than I think pretty much anything else. Excellent fuel for training. So get yourself over there. 5 books to go. Helen will even autograph it for you.
If you want it autographed, I would.
You can have the autograph of the 4th placed finisher at Ironman UK 70.3.
No, 4th age group placed finisher. Nowhere near 4th.
Oh, do you know what? let's take some to Ironman UK with us. If we've got some left, let's take some then and get the winners to sign them.
Oh,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
We could auction them for charity.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Let's do it. Great stuff. Right, so moving on to what is coming up. Let's go with the World Long Distance Championships in Sweden coming up this weekend. It's the ITU Worlds, isn't it?
Yeah, the Long Distance Worlds. And we've got quite a few Brits, actually, going in the elite men's race. We've got Joe Skipper, haven't we? He's on the start list. And Richie Nichols as well is on the male start list. So both of them have got very good backgrounds in long distance racing, haven't they? So it should be a good race, because who else is there's quite a decent lineup actually on the men's side. You've got I spotted a few. Dirk Buckle, Ronnie Schnildknecht is racing.
Cyril Viano is racing.
So there's quite a few decent names.
Dirk Buckle's going to be a big name.
Josh Amberger is down on the...
Rasmus Henning is racing.
He's down on the start list. Rudy Viles.
I thought he'd retired.
Joe Gambles.
That's going to be a good race.
Yeah.
Andreas Niedrig, he's racing. Philip Ospley, going to be a good race. Interesting times, mate.
Yeah, and then in the women's race, Amy Forshaw is on the start list. And
would love to see Amy have a good race after the disappointment of some stupid idiot putting thumbtacks down.
It would be. Yeah, it'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Come on, Amy, put it together. Let's have a good race from you, and that'll set you up for... I wonder if she's racing Wales again. Or is she doing UK?
Don't know.
Tweet us, Amy. Let us know what you're doing.
Who else on that start list? Camilla Pedersen is on the start list.
Is she?
Mary Beth Ellis is on the start list, but...
Really?
Yeah. I don't think Will Mary Beth Ellis be going from this weekend over to Sweden? Who knows, but she's on the start list.
Back it up.
And Asa Lundstrom is also on the start list, so she'll be looking to get a home win for Sweden.
Yeah, good. Interesting to see how that works out. Always an underrated race, I think, the ITU Long Distance World Championships. I raced it years and years ago and was super impressed by what a big event it is. And I know it's the highlight of a lot of people's calendars. If you get picked to race for Great Britain in the Long Course Worlds, if you've done a couple of Ironmans and stuff and you're looking for the next thing, really, really good race. And I tell you what, I had my eyes opened when I raced, because I got there thinking, I got the Great Britain vest on. I am pretty cool stuff. And I got schooled, mate.
Oh.
I got schooled big time. I think I was... How far down was I at the swim? Like 23 minutes down or something out of the swim. And I shouted to my wife, how am I doing? And she was just like...
Yeah, you're out of it.
Not good. It broke my heart.
Oh, but you enjoyed the experience.
I enjoyed the experience. I went out and raged around on the bike, and the pro women had started a bit before us. Chrissy was racing, and she motored past like nothing you've ever seen. But I managed to destroy myself behind some of the second pack female pros trying to cling on there, and walked most of the run that day. So do as I say, not as I do. That's the answer from that one.
And then there's Ironman action going on again, because it's the summer, so clearly Ironman are everywhere and doing their stuff on their European tour. So it's a big one this weekend. It's Austria and France.
I think Austria is probably the biggest European race outside of Germany. Super duper race. They've got a cracking men's and women's pro field lineup. On the men's side, they've got Marino van Hoenacker lined up, previous world record holder, and the course he set the world record on. I think he's been 7:45. I think he did on this course. And he got the record taken off him with a 7:41 by one of the Raylerts. Ivan Rana's second ranked. Stephen Bayliss is racing for the UK there, or he's certainly down on the start list. I don't know whether he's raced this year yet, has he?
I don't know, actually.
He's been on the podium there before, and he's been very close to 8 hours himself on this course. I think he's had a couple of seconds and thirds there. There are 39 male pros down to the start list for the men.
Wow, that is
15 for the ladies. Ladies start list, we've got Eva Wooty, who flatted out of 70.3 Staffordshire last week. Sarah Piampiano from the USA is over. Erica Chomore. So we've got some good names racing there.
Definitely.
And again, whether they'll go sub 850, be interesting to see.
Wow, it is a really, really good course, and the crowd, the spectators, it's just awesome. It's in a small town in the south of Austria called Klagenfurt, and this is almost takes over Klagenfurt probably for about a month. It's like what they look forward to, what they all come out for, and absolutely brilliant support on that run. So if you are thinking of possibly signing up for an Ironman, do consider Austria, but you have to be very, very quick because it sells out within probably about five minutes.
Microseconds, doesn't it? Yeah. I'll tell you what, Hells, it is the top of my races I want to do before I retire list. It is, I've got to say, from all the races I've ever looked at, it's the one I would like to go and race the most. I think it's a perfect combination of a beautiful location, lovely tarmac on the roads, fast surface, which means you're out running in a shorter time than you would be on any other course. Like you said, amazing support, and if you can handle the heat. Do you know what? I'm talking myself into it. I'm going to talk with Mrs. Wilby tonight.
You're not going to do it.
Campervan trip next year.
You're not going to do it, Rob. How many races have you said that you want to do next year?
This is about 37, isn't it?
Yeah. How many have you signed up for yet?
None. That's the thing, though, is that you've got to know a year in advance. You've got to know what you're doing a whole year in advance. All I want to do is finish my job and
then you can start live
properly. Yeah. 4 weeks to go. Oh, we'll talk about that more. We're going to do a special Rob quits his job special, aren't we, in 4 weeks' time? Ironman UK and Rob goes voluntary unemployed. Anybody else out there thinking about quitting the job? Talk to me about it. Right. Also, Ironman France is coming up in Nice. Another super race on your must-do Ironman race list. We can't get the Pro Start list up because the Ironman website is useless on this one, although it's very good on Austria, to give them the due. We know that Romain Guillaume is racing because he told us last week when we interviewed him, and he's looking for the big win there. Freddie Van Leer has dominated this for the past 4 years, and he isn't racing this year. He's racing... Is he racing Roth or Frankfurt?
Don't know.
One or the other. So that race on the men's side is wide open. It isn't a fast course, very mountainous. There's a 21-kilometre climb through the Alps on that, which, I tell you what, it comes early in the course and it's almost impossible without a power meter to ride sensibly up it.
Because you did it, didn't you, a couple of years ago? You did Ironman.
I rode it in 2012, and even with a lot of knowledge and being determined to ride that climb sensibly, I was blown to pieces by the top of that climb. With about 80k into the race, people were just in tears at the roadside. They have a special needs at the top of the climb where you can put your own bottle of water in because there isn't a water station for another 30k after it.
Wow.
And yeah, just unbelievably hard bike course. And the descent as well is one of those descents where you've got to pedal the whole way down. So it's not even as though there's free speed on the downhill. It's a shallow, how fast you dare take the corners kind of deal. So totally stunning.
Sounds beautiful. I tell you, Rob, you did mention Ironman Frankfurt there, didn't you? Very briefly, Vanessa Raw, who got her first half Ironman win last weekend, is on the start list. So it would be her first Ironman Frankfurt in the European Championships, actually, in a couple of weeks.
Wow. Well, we've got her lined up for an interview. We've talked to her over email a couple of times, and we've not been able to make the schedules work yet for the interview. But maybe we could get her on and have a quick chat in the next few weeks, because talk about jumping in at the deep end, doing your first Ironman in Frankfurt, that is seriously hardcore racing. So I hope Vanessa makes it and goes and has a good race there, because she dominated the 70.3 Italy last week, didn't she? She had a really big win.
Yeah. It was brilliant. So it would be good to get her on and hear from her, and about her transition from all the ITU racing, Olympic distance stuff, and how she's been gearing up to go long.
Yeah. And the one other race we need to mention for this week for our UK listeners, now, even though there isn't a pro race there, it's 70.3 Wimbledon, which has always been, up until this year, the only, it's been 70.3 UK, and I think it's still billed, isn't it, as 70.3 UK rather than 70.3 Exmoor. I'd love to hear from listeners who are racing there. It is an absolutely brilliant place to race, absolutely amazing course, really, really challenging bike course, beautiful location, swim's beautiful, bike is never ending up or down, run is a mix of trails and tarmac and very steep uphill and downhills in places, and out and back across a dam, so it's well worth doing that race. And I'll be dead interested to see whether it affects the race feel at all.
Yeah,
that they
without
haven't got pros there.
Definitely. Because I did it last year, and the number of pro women's, it was embarrassing. There were, I think, 4 pro women racing, and that was it. And it's just such a shame. And a lot of the age group women actually finished higher up than the pro women. It was won by a pro, but Nikki Bartlett, age group at the time, got second. Vicky Gill was right up there. I beat one of the pros. I mean, that's ridiculous. So it really was a poor turnout last year for the female pros. And so you can understand why Ironman then switched it and
maybe they closed down the pro race because it's quite difficult to get to, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It's difficult to get to.
Remote.
It is a tough course. So there weren't many ranking points on offer anyway, were there? So I guess why would you put your body through a really, really difficult course when...
Yeah, a lot of muscle damage for not very many points reward, I suppose. I think we're going to see more of this, I think we're going to see Ironman start to sort of divide up their pro ranking races to get, firstly, so they get sort of more strength and depth at the races and they get more of a feel there, but also so that they can then divide these races up a little bit more. And I think we might even see the same thing happening with Kona slots,
It could do. Even this weekend, the Kronborg in Denmark, that didn't have a pro race, and that was an Ironman event. So...
Is that the first full distance one that hasn't got a pro race?
Sorry, I think it is a 70.3. Sorry. 70.3.
A 70.3?
Yep, didn't have a pro.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe they'll start doing 70.3s without pro slots as well, and be interesting. Anybody in the know? Anybody out there work for Ironman? Let us know. Let's try and get some interviews when we're down at UK at Bolton, and we'll see if we can find out what's going on. I'd love to interview Kevin Stewart, the director of Ironman UK, and have a chat with him and find out what his plans are for the brand going forward. So it'd be interesting.
Definitely. And Rob, there's one other bit of triathlon news this week, and it's a sad bit of news, but let's try and flip it to a positive bit of news. So last weekend, it was Staffordshire 70.3, and when I was coming home, I had a text from a friend saying, "Have you heard the news?" And I carried on reading this text, and it said that Katie Henderson had tragically died on her way to the race. Now, Katie Henderson was in the 30 to 34 age group, an absolutely incredible swimmer. She got on the podium last year at the 70.3 World Championships. She had been taken on by British Triathlon to be one of the para guides for the 2016 Paralympics. And it was absolutely tragic. She died in a car accident on the way to Staffordshire. She was from the Try Training Harder team. And just, you sort of read some of the tributes and things to her, and it just sounded like she was an absolutely lovely, lovely girl. Really, really modest, but super, super talented. And so the positive side of this really sad story is that a Just Giving page has been set up in her memory, and the money is going to be raised for the British Triathlon Foundation Trust. They've already raised £2,300, and if you want to give, then it's justgiving.com/Katie's Legacy. So that's the really, really sad news about Katie Henderson, but hopefully we can raise some money in her memory for the British Triathlon Foundation Trust.
Yeah, absolutely tragic, and our thoughts go out to her family and team members there. Well, sad to move on from that, really, isn't it? But we've got to try and move on, I suppose. I think we're pretty much at the end of our show, Helen, on that note, sadly.
I think we are, but if we can raise some money, then we're doing a good thing. So go on to justgiving.com/Katie's Legacy. And remember, Katie, next time you race, because it's a real tragedy. And we will be back next week with some more news and results from the world of triathlon.
Absolutely. So until next week, we've been brought to you by our sponsors, OxygenAddict.com, FuelByCake.com and SalfordTriathlon.com. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
And I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.